Before we jump into today's story, drop a quick comment to say hi. Tell me your name, where you're watching from, and let me know if you're sticking around till the end. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. All right, let's get into the story. I never believed in hauntings, not really. Ghost stories were something you grew up with, cautionary tales whispered around campfires, nothing more than entertainment. But everything changed the summer I moved to Barrow Creek, a small forgotten town in the woods of New England. It's the kind of place where the past lingers in every cracked street and rotting storefront, where the shadows lean too far and the houses seem to breathe when the wind blows. Friends, you enjoy listening to stories, but you don't subscribe to the channel or like the videos. I request you to please subscribe to the channel right now so that I get more motivation to bring you even more stories. If you help me reach 1,000 subscribers, I promise to bring you extremely scary stories with a truly real feel. 2 horror stories every single day. So go ahead, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and now let's move on to today's story. I thought moving here would mean a fresh start, a chance to escape my past life in New York, like peeling away a layer of skin. But what I found in that house on Hollow Road wasn't an escape, it was a descent. And if I'd known then what I know now, I never would have turned the key in that front door. The listing had called it a fixer-upper with history. I should have known better. Nobody says history without a story of decay or blood attached. When the rust-red farmhouse revealed itself at the end of the gravel drive, I almost turned back. Its roof sagged like a dying man's shoulders, its windows darker than midnight, as if none had seen light in years. The realtor carefully offered a smile, though it trembled around her lips. "Few places like this left," she said, unlocking the swollen front door. "Locals call it Hollow House, old family place, been standing since the 1800s. Her tone made my skin crawl. It wasn't just history, it was a warning disguised as casual conversation. Stepping inside, the air was heavy, thick with dust, and something sweeter, like rusted iron or old fruit gone bad. The boards groaned under my feet, not in protest, but more like recognition. I almost felt like the house had been waiting. I should have walked away. God knows I should have, but I didn't. The first nights were uneventful, just the creaks and sighs of old wood, winter winds rattling through loose window panes. I told myself it was nothing more than structural fatigue, the aches of a house that had been forgotten. Then came the sounds. It started faint, a fleeting whisper when I passed the stairs, too low and blurred to catch words. Sometimes it wasn't a voice, but a shuffle, like feet moving just ahead of my own steps. One night, as I lay in bed, I woke to the unmistakable hum of a lullaby. Faint, almost human, almost mechanical, like a needle scratching an old record player. I sat up, heart hammering. The house was empty. I told myself I was dreaming, but I wasn't. People in town didn't ask where I'd moved. They already knew. Whenever I mentioned Hollow Road, silence followed. Expressions shifted into tight knots. One woman flat out crossed herself and walked away. It was an older man, thin as bone, with a face carved like leather, who finally spoke. He found me outside the hardware store and spat tobacco into the dirt before saying, "You hear 'em yet?" I froze. "Who?" He glanced at me with pale, watery eyes. "Them kids. You will. They don't like strangers." My throat dried. What happened there? His voice dropped lower. Family gone bad. Back in 42, wife drowned her little ones in the well out back, hung herself in the barn the next day. Folks say their cries never left. I laughed it off, but something inside me wilted. Every word felt too specific, too etched into the earth to be rumor. I avoided the backyard for days, but one afternoon curiosity dragged me there anyway. The well stood crooked behind the house, its stonework eroded with age. The bucket was long gone, but I swear when I leaned closer, the air rising from it was colder than death. That night, the lullaby returned, louder, more insistent, and this time children's voices joined in, not singing, not whispering, crying. 3 distinct tones, one shrill like a baby, another thin and panicked, the last low and broken. I shoved pillows to my ears. I prayed, but nothing silenced them. The first time I saw her was in the hallway mirror. I'd woken near midnight, throat raw, mouth dry, and stumbled toward the bathroom. The mirror caught me, pale and haggard, but just over my shoulder, a woman stood. Her hair hung wet, face blurred like silt under water, but her eyes shone through, wide and eager, watching me the way a starving animal waits for meat. I spun, but there was no one. The hallway stretched empty. When I turned back, the mirror was dark, too dark, as if it no longer reflected the light of the bulb. I smashed it with a chair that same night.
I tried leaving. The car wouldn't start. When I called for a cab, the line cut out before I spoke a word. Even when I walked down the gravel drive, the woods twisted, and I found myself circling back to the house after what felt like hours. It had me. The house wasn't just haunted, it was alive, drawing me deeper every day. Shadows stretched longer than they should. Rooms shifted when I left them. Hallways grew unfamiliar. One morning, the stairs ended in a wall where they hadn't before. And always, always the children cried. I woke one morning to find the walls of my bedroom scarred. Long, jagged scratches cut across the plaster, each gouge deeper than the last. They weren't random. They formed words. Stay. The letters were thin and uneven, like small hands had carved them. My hands shook as I reached out, tracing the edges. The plaster crumbled beneath my fingers. That night, the scratching continued. I lay in bed paralyzed while the scrape, scrape, scrape echoed through the room. I knew if I opened my eyes, I would see what made them, but I couldn't bear it. I buried my face into the sheets until morning. When the sun rose, new words had appeared. With us. The house began to resist me in more obvious ways. Windows I had opened during the day were locked tight at night. Doors wouldn't budge even under my full weight. Once I tried to smash a front window with a chair, but the glass wouldn't break. Instead, the reflection warped, stretching my face until it wasn't mine anymore. My mouth gaped wider than possible. My eyes bulged, and then the reflection smiled. I wasn't smiling. I threw the chair again, but the reflection laughed silently. I stopped looking at windows after that. I had avoided the barn since hearing the old man's warning, but one evening, just as dusk fell into bruised purple shadows, the barn doors creaked open on their own. The air changed instantly. The crickets stopped, the wind vanished, and the world paused around me. Something wanted me to go inside. The smell hit me first, mold, rot, and a faint copper tang. Inside, rope swung from the rafters. Only one still knotted at the end, dangling down and brushing the dirt floor. A woman's impression hung in the air, faint but undeniable, as though she had only stepped away a moment ago. I staggered back, but the doors slammed shut. Darkness swallowed me whole until something cold pressed against my hand. Small fingers. I bolted out screaming, though I don't remember the doors opening. All I remember is the sound of children giggling behind me. The lullaby that haunted my nights grew different, no longer soft but shrill. The broken record hiss grew sharper, turning the melody into a shriek that drilled into my skull. Sometimes I awoke with it echoing from inside my pillow, vibrating my skull as though someone sang directly into my ear. Worse, I started humming it myself without realizing. While cooking, while walking to town, even while searching the well. I knew then it was inside me. The house wasn't just trapping me, it was rewriting me. I lost track of nights. Sleep came short and fractured, filled with voices that circled me in darkness. When I woke, my feet were wet, my pajamas soaked, mud clung to my ankles. I knew where I had been. The well. I don't remember walking there, but one night I stood over the stone lip, peering into the bottomless dark. Ripples shifted, as though something moved in the water. Then came a whisper, faint but sharp as a knife blade. "Help me." Another followed, higher-pitched, broken. "Play with us." The last was low, almost guttural. "Join her." My knees buckled. I nearly fell inside. From somewhere behind me, footsteps ran across the grass. I turned, expecting children, but no one stood there. Only the long grass bending in patterns as if invisible bodies fled giggling into the dark. That night, I dreamed, or maybe I didn't. Candles burned in a circle inside the house. Shapes hunched together, faces blurred, but hands clasped. Among them stood the woman, the drowned mother. Her hair clung wet to her shoulders, eyes like bottomless pits. "You don't belong here," she said, in a voice both human and not, rippling through the walls themselves. "But you will." The children clung to her dress, their mouths open, but the cries came from me. My throat tore, but no sound escaped. I woke screaming on the parlor rug, wax on my hands, the stale scent of smoke still in the air. It wasn't just a dream. It started around 2 a.m. Above my bedroom, pacing began. Steady, deliberate footsteps. One set at first, then two, small ones, like children running back and forth, giggling softly. The problem was, there was no upstairs. I lay frozen, staring at the ceiling, every step pressing down as though the boards might snap and drop something onto me. Then, suddenly, silence. A silence so deep it felt alive. I whispered into the darkness, "Who's there?" The ceiling answered with 3 sharp knocks.
At the town's library, I dug into their archives, hands shaking as I flipped through brittle newspapers. There it was. June 1942. Local mother drowns children, hangs herself in family barn. A photo showed the farmhouse as it once was. Fresh paint, bright windows, laughter frozen in the faces of 3 children. Their eyes followed me, even in grainy black and white. But the mother's face, it had been charred out. Not torn, not faded, burned, as though deliberately erased. When I returned home, those same photographs waited on my kitchen table. I never brought them from the library. The house grew damp. No matter the weather, the walls wept moisture. Pools gathered under my bed, slick footprints tracked down the hallway, too small for mine. The smell of water followed me everywhere, murky, metallic, like river stones and rust. One night, it got worse. I woke coughing, lungs burning. My throat filled with water, though no liquid touched my lips. I thrashed out of bed, choking, and spat on the floor. What came out wasn't saliva. It was pond water, thick with silt and black strands of hair tangled in it. It happened while unpacking a box in the dining room. I felt a tug at my sleeve. I turned. 3 children stood there. 2 boys, 1 girl. They looked no older than 6, 8, maybe 10. Their skin was waxy, pale, their hair dripping wet as though it could never dry. The girl smiled first. It wasn't cruel. It was hopeful, almost warm. "Stay with us," she whispered. I blinked, and they were gone. But the floor where they had stood was soaked. The woman came again. This time not in reflection, but in the kitchen doorway at dawn. Her hair clung in ropes to her shoulders, water spilling and pooling beneath her bare feet. She didn't walk, she drifted, dragging shadow around her. Her lips parted and her voice clawed into my skull. "They took them from me. Do not leave me alone." I stumbled backward, but my body betrayed me, moving closer to her as though pulled on strings. My last memory before fainting was her hand reaching for me. Her fingers weren't fingers anymore. They were ropes. The rooms no longer stayed the same. One afternoon, I walked into the parlor only to find myself in the barn, the noose swaying above. Another time, I opened the closet, and the smell of the well burst out, cold air spilling over me, as though the earth had opened. Time fractured. Days lasted hours, nights stretched forever. I saw myself reflected in mirrors I didn't own, standing closer than natural, staring with eyes that weren't my own anymore. The house was grinding me down, reshaping reality like clay. That night, I found myself at the kitchen table at 3 a.m., though I never remembered sitting down. In my hands was a rope, wet, heavy. I don't own rope. When I tried to drop it, my hands refused. Instead, I lifted it toward the beams above, tying knots with precision my fingers should never have known. My voice sang, the lullaby, her lullaby. When I finally broke free, panting, hours had passed. The rope was gone, but the noose mark still burned around my palms. The old man from town came to my door. He never should have. "You're still in there," he said, refusing to cross the threshold. His hands shook against his cane. But not for long. I begged him for answers. That house, it don't just haunt, it feeds. Her soul won't rest, not till she fills the house with family again. She'll take you piece by piece, till you sing her song same as the rest. He pressed me a small wooden cross in his hand, his eyes hollow. When it calls, don't answer back, promise me. His voice broke then. I didn't keep that promise once. Cost me everything. He limped away, weeping. That night, I clutched the wooden cross the old man had given me like a lifeline. I slept with it in my fist, knuckles white, body stiff. But sometime past midnight, it burned. Not warm, burned. I woke to the smell of smoke rising from my palm. The cross had blackened, its edges charred as though dipped in fire. From the corner of the room, I heard laughter. Not children this time. Low, wet, the mother. I gritted my teeth and shouted into the dark, "You can't have me!" The house's reply was silence, the kind that waits. It started while I was cooking. Steam rose from boiling water, filling the air, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. My chest locked, throat swelled, every breath turned into liquid. I collapsed against the counter, eyes bulging, lungs screaming. I clawed at my throat, gasping, but what came up was black water, flowing from my mouth, soaking the floor. In the blur of suffocation, I saw them again, 3 pale children, standing in the kitchen doorway. They didn't move, they only watched. Their lips moved in unison. Soon. It's no longer outside me. It speaks inside my skull. The mother's voice doesn't echo through hallways anymore. Now it rides my thoughts. When I eat, when I sit, when I breathe, I hear her. You're almost ready. Sometimes it isn't words. Sometimes it's the lullaby. It enters while I'm awake, weaving through my veins like it's becoming part of me. I can't tell which thoughts are my own anymore. I found myself standing at the well again, with no memory of how I got there. Mud clung up my legs to the knees. The bucket chain, long rusted, now hung freshly oiled, swaying without wind. I leaned forward, heart hammering, and this time my reflection rippled below. Only it wasn't me. Her face stared back, drowned eyes glaring, mouth moving without sound. Then the children pushed up from the water. Pale hands broke the surface. Tiny mouths opened in silent screams. I fell backward, choking as though the water had filled me anyway. There was banging at my door around dawn. I thought it was her. My body tensed to run. But it was the old man again, pale, eyes frantic. He didn't wait for permission. He shoved inside. "You've got days, days," he rasped. "She drags you in faster if you're alone. The house don't want you leaving, and soon it'll be too strong. You hear me? You've got to burn it." His words struck through the haze in my head like a match. "Burn it?" I whispered. "It's the only way. Fire's the only thing keeps her from binding you. But if you fail, she'll wear your skin next." That evening, I heard it again. Scrape, scrape, scrape. On my bedroom wall, fresh letters carved themselves while I watched. This time, every stroke was deliberate, slow, as though written not to be read, but to be felt. We love you. I backed into the corner, shaking. The plaster bled. Actual red ran from the grooves, dripping onto the floor in thick trails. From beneath the boards, children's voices sang the lullaby. Their feet pounded in rhythm like a heartbeat. The walls joined in. I tried. God help me, I tried. I doused the living room in lighter fluid. I struck a match and dropped it. Flames roared up instantly, licking the curtains, climbing the walls. But the fire didn't spread. It stopped, frozen mid-dance, like a painting of fire instead of the real thing. Then it simply vanished, smoke sucked back into the ceiling. The mother's voice filled the silence. I won't burn. You will. And my skin began to blister, though no fire touched it. I screamed as invisible flames licked across my arms, leaving red welts. The match burned out in my hand. I hardly sleep now. When I do, I wake with my head pounding and my throat raw from singing. She wants me in the well. I feel it. Every whisper leads me there. Every lullaby urges me to crawl to its edge and let go. Last night, the children stood at my bedside. The girl climbed onto the mattress, leaned close, and pressed her cold lips to my ear. She's waiting for you, Daddy. I don't have children. The house changed again. It was no longer filled with creaks, whispers, and laughter. It was worse. It became silent, utterly silent. Even the wind outside stopped. The silence pressed into my skull like a drum waiting to explode. I realized then the house didn't need to make noise anymore. It had me. At night, in that suffocating stillness, the woman hovered at the foot of my bed. She never spoke. She only smiled. I think she knew I was too tired to resist. A door appeared where none had been there before, behind the kitchen. It wasn't there in daylight, only after dark. Inside was a room lined wall to wall with mirrors. Every angle caught me in reflection, dozens of me staring back, but none moved like I did. Some smiled, others cried. Some turned toward me even when I stood still. And one, only one, wasn't me at all. It was her. I smashed the mirror with a brick. The glass cut deep into my palm. Blood poured, but when I looked down, it wasn't mine anymore. It was water. They don't hide from me now. In the daylight, I see them sitting in corners, dripping onto the floorboards. At night, they climb into my bed, cold skin against mine, whispering promises that if I just come with them, the pain will end. The youngest boy grips my hand tighter each night. His fingernails dig into my wrist like hooks. He'll show you how to breathe underwater, he says. His breath smells like wet earth. People in Barrow Creek don't look at me anymore. When I walk down Main Street, they cross to the other side. A woman actually shut her store when she saw me approaching. When I caught my reflection in the window of a diner, I understood why. I wasn't myself. My eyes were paler, my skin damp. My lips moved, whispering words I couldn't hear. But in the reflection, I wasn't whispering to myself. I was whispering to someone standing just out of my sight, behind me. When I turned, no one was there. The old man found me again, this time in the street, blocking my path. His face was lined deep with terror. "It's too late, son," he croaked. "She's marked you. Look at your arms." I pulled back my sleeves. Rope burns, fresh, angry red welts wrapping around both wrists. "He tried to warn me," he sobbed. "First the children, then the ropes, then the water. That's how she takes you. There's no undoing it." But then, almost in a whisper, he leaned close. "If you don't go down there yourself, before she drags you." I didn't ask what he meant. I knew. The well. That night, it finally happened. I was in the well, not standing above it, inside. The cold water pulled at my legs, climbing higher, reaching my ribs, my throat.
I screamed, but my mouth only filled with more of it, silty, thick, choking. Around me drifted the children, their eyes glowing faint in the dark water. They didn't look like ghosts anymore. They looked alive. The mother waded deeper below, a pale, glowing figure, arms outstretched. "Come home," she said. When I woke, my bed was soaked. My lungs ached with the weight of it. This morning, the house was quiet again. Too quiet. No whispers, no laughter, no creaking boards. The rope waits in the barn. The well waits in the yard. And inside me, something breaks a little more each hour. I hum the lullaby for comfort now, not fear. It feels like mine. The old man was right. I don't have days left. I can feel myself slipping, the line between me and her blurring. When I look at my hands, I don't see rope burns anymore. I see small, pale fingers, children's fingers, clutching me from the dark. And tonight, I know she'll come, not as a shadow, but for real, standing at my bed, ready to take me with her. I don't know if I'll fight this time. This morning, I saw it for the first time. A bruise, deep and blue-black, spread across my chest in the shape of a hand. Not mine. Too large, too long-fingered, pressed directly over my heart. When I touched it, the skin beneath pulsed like something alive. Every beat of my heart felt like her fingers tightening. The children want to play now. I woke to the sound of marbles rolling across the wooden floor of the hall, dozens of them clattering, spinning. But when I opened the door, they weren't marbles at all. They were teeth, small, white, grinning teeth scattered across the hallway boards. The girl stood at the end of the hall, smiling as she whispered, "Play with us." And then the teeth began to roll toward me. I can't stay away from the barn anymore. The doors swing open every night, and the ropes sway though no wind blows. Last night, one of the ropes wasn't empty. It hung there with a shadow body twisting slowly, the neck snapped, eyes bulging. When it turned, I saw my own face staring back at me. When I screamed, the shadow dropped to the floor with a wet thud. The boards drank it like water. I found the old man one final time. He sat on the church steps, staring at nothing. "I buried my daughter in that house," he muttered. His eyes were wet, distant. "She called me in, same as you. I didn't fight. I should have burned it down, should have ended it for good. I begged him to tell me how. He turned slowly. The marks of rope burns wound his neck. His voice broke like splitting wood. You don't end it, boy. You inherit it. And then he vanished. The house doesn't whisper anymore. The walls speak. They moan, sigh, groan like lungs dragging in wet air. From the cracks in the plaster, water seeps. Sometimes words spill with it. Home, family, daddy. I tried to cover my ears, but they spoke inside me anyway, pushing me toward the back door, toward the well, toward her. Tonight, I stood at the well with the rope in my hand. I don't remember fetching it, but it was knotted and waiting, ready to lower myself down. As I leaned over, the water rippled, not as though disturbed from below, but as if it were breathing. And in it, my reflection no longer resisted. It smiled at me. Her smile. I never tied the rope myself, but my wrists are bound again. Each pulse tightens it. When I pulled against it, it wasn't fastened to the barn or the rafters. It was fastened to the well, the rope itself feeding down into the blackness. Something beneath was tugging me inside. They surround me now, in the house, in the halls, at the foot of my bed. They sing the lullaby in a broken chorus, their voices wet and gurgled. But tonight, there's something new. They call me Daddy. All of them, over and over. Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. It drowns my thoughts until I almost believe it. She came to me fully formed tonight. No longer shadow, no longer reflection, no longer dream. She stood in the living room, pale as death but solid, wet hair streaking rivulets onto the floor, her mouth stretched wider than human, cheeks tearing as water gushed out. You are mine, she crooned, stepping closer. Her hands gripped my shoulders. I didn't resist this time. Her touch felt inevitable.
It is almost done. The rope waits. The well breathes. The children sing. I feel myself dividing. Part of me screaming to run, to burn, to fight. Another part whispers lullabies without end, waiting to slip beneath the surface forever. Tomorrow night will be the end, mine or hers, or both. And as I write this, dripping water stains the page. It smells like the well. I think the house is writing through me now. The air is heavier tonight. The house no longer feels separate from me. It is me. Every breath I take feels borrowed. Every heartbeat echoes through the walls. The children watch from doorways and stairs, smiling faintly, waiting like guests before a meal. And she is everywhere now. I see her in every shadow, hear her voice in every silence. Her song seeps through the floorboards until the whole house hums with it. I think this is the night. I don't remember tying the rope to the well's frame, but there it is, strong, coiled, ready. My wrists blister where it touches me. I lower myself down. Each breath feels tighter, wetter, the air thickening into water. My hands shake, but don't let go. The walls of the well are slick, carved with names, dozens of them. I trace them as I descend into dark, damp air. Some names are half-scratched, cut off mid-letter, and then the water rises to greet me. It is not water. Not really. It's thicker, heavier. It swallows me whole. There is no bottom, only an endless depth. Shapes circle me, limbs pale, hair drifting. The children, their eyes glow faint, their mouths open and close in hymns too deep to hear. And then she arrives. The mother glides up from the blackness, her eyes like stones at the bottom of a river. Her mouth opens, spilling endless water, and her arms reach for me. "You are home," she whispers, and her cold touch burns like fire. Something inside me tears. The rope on my wrists pulls tighter, dragging me deeper. Her grip demands surrender. But then I see their faces, the children, not cruel, not hateful. They are trapped, puppets on her strings, begging silently. I realized choice. I can join her, or I can end it. The cross the old man gave me is still at my chest, charred and broken. I hold it tight, press it against her image, and scream, my voice bubbling into water, bursting my throat raw. For a moment, the well shakes. The children flicker like candle flames. The mother shrieks, her voice deeper than earth, splitting my ears. And I let go. They tell me I was found in the gravel drive at dawn, clothes soaked, body cold, lungs filled with mud and black water. No one should have lived, but I did. The townsfolk won't look at me now. The old man is gone. The library archives are gone. Even the photographs no longer exist. But the lullaby is still inside me. I hum it without knowing. My reflection smiles when I don't. The hollow house stands empty on the hill, watching with dark windows, waiting. And sometimes, when I dream, I see children at the well. Their small, pale hands wave for me to come back. One day, I think, I will.